Now at Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply, the pit barrel is back. The original size, the PBX, and the new Badger barrel. The Badger barrel does it all and more with a great price and great quality. Can you do this on your grill? I didn't think so. You can on the Badger. It's hot with an attitude to match. Pit barrels are easy to use. Get your pit barrel at Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply in Ottawa.
People on the product, and I think for us, we've had some really good retailers. We were just talking about one today that came on with us, Owl's Nest Barbecue. He's awesome, but he sold a lot of product, but he's passionate about it. Yep. He talks about it. He educates his people, his staff, everybody on it.
Hey, how about that? Welcome, Monday night, the catch-up show, the Owl's Nest Barbecue catch-up show. I'm Steve Ray. Pete is still on vacation, trampling around Europe, Amsterdam, Brussels, Belgium, Germany. He is all over the place. So we're going to do a Pete's vacation segment tonight. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Also tonight, Noah Glanville, the owner, creator, and founder of Pit Barrel Cookers, is going to be with us in just a few moments. But first, let's get a little house cleaning done. The How to Barbecue Right, all their products are in stock now. We didn't run out of anything. We got close. But I ordered some stuff from Malcolm a couple weeks ago, and they are in. So we are fully stocked on the How to Barbecue Right and Killer Hogs products, including the sauce. I know we were out of the sauce for a couple days. For some reason, it flew off the shelf, but we've got it. The chef's temps are going to be, they should be here this week. That's the wireless temperature apparatus that was so popular at Christmas time. They should be in this week. We've got 24 of them coming. So just watch the Facebook page, and as soon as they hit the door, I will let you know that they're in. The Heath Riles rubs, they are on the way. We've added a couple that Heath had that we didn't have, so we'll be having those in soon, and they're on the way. I got notified today. We've restocked all of our Lane's rubs, and Michael Williams, I'll be glad to tell you, and you'll be even better glad to hear that we've added the granulated honey rub. So everybody come in and try that out. We'll have that on the sample table. I'm anxious to taste that granulated honey rub from Lane's, and we'll be upping their inventory as the months go by. Hey, everybody knows Sean that works at the store with me on Saturday. Sean had a car accident last Monday, and he broke his ankle. He had surgery Thursday morning to set it, and I texted with him, and he's doing okay, but he's going to be laid up 4 to 6 weeks. So keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Our buddy Sean, he's become quite a fixture there on Saturdays at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply. And we're going to miss you, Sean. Hurry up and get better, and hurry up and get back, because everybody wants to see you. Of course, all the Butcher Barbecue products are all stocked up. Everything in stock. We just got a huge order in from David the other day, and we got it all put up. We also got those new thermometers that he's got out, the instant read thermometers with the remote probe that are so unique, very inexpensive, $29.95. And those flew off the shelf at Christmas time, and they are back in stock, totally all the way in stock. Also, congratulations to Michael Williams and his barbecue team. Michael went down to Gadsden, Alabama, and was in the competed in the Smoke on the Falls contest there in Gadsden, and his team finished 10th. I think they had more than 40 teams there, and so he finished got a top 10. So congratulations to you, Michael. And he practices and practices and practices, and all that practices is showing fruit, Michael. You're just getting better and better and better. Perry sending evening guys. Also, he's sending prayers for Sean. I know, Perry. Everybody likes Sean, and he is one of our best buddies. So keep him in your thoughts and prayers, Sean Jagels. Remember, if you've got anything in the barbecue world that you want to put out there, announcements, if you're going to be selling barbecue anywhere, David Roberts, Jeff Maxwell, if you guys are going to be doing any selling, by all means, put it on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Nation page. That's what it's there for. It's there for your food pictures, and it's there for your announcements. All things that are barbecue go on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Nation page. And that's got a bunch of followers, and we appreciate it. If you go to it and you want to check it out, please like it and follow it, because there's a lot of good food pictures on there, a lot of good recipes, and a lot of good information. And people, it inspires you to cook something, and we really enjoy seeing all your pictures there on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Nation page. All right, we're gonna bring him on right now. Noah Glanville from Murphy's, California. What's up, Noah?
Not much. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good. Murphy's, California. That is, if you were to go to San Francisco, you would turn right for what, a couple 100 miles? Is that about right?
Correct. Yep. It's east of San Francisco, roughly 2.5 hours.
Now, I looked. I've never been there, Noah, but it looks like you are on the edge. Murphy's is some sort of a mountain city, or on the edge of a state park or a national park.
It is. It's in the foothills of the Sierras, and
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous place. I don't want to tell too many people, but yeah, Murphy's is one of the best spots in California. It's such a neat little town. It's where the gold rush started. Lots of wineries, local little wineries down a quaint little main street in Murphy's. It's a nice shops, several restaurants. So it's a great place to come up for a weekend.
I would have, everybody listening, I would say it's probably like our Helen, Georgia is the way I imagine it, since I've never been there, but I'd say it's probably like that. Now, have you ever heard of the Mercer Caverns?
I have, as a matter of fact.
Have you been to the Mercer Cavern?
I have. Yep.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, and when I was in Scouts, and then it's a frequent thing now when visitors come into town. I usually send my boys to give the tour, and they've done it so many times. They joke about working there one day and actually being a tour guide. So they've been many times. But it is very cool. It's
the equivalent. What I like to do is try to compare things to our area. Our area would be Ruby Falls, everybody. The same kind of thing, kind of a tourist trap place where tourists were involved. Now, do you know who discovered the Mercer Caverns? I love stuff like this. I just love it.
Yeah, well, his last name was Mercer.
Absolutely.
And so he, gosh, I'm trying to blank on his name.
Walter.
Was it Walter Mercer?
Walter J. Mercer.
You know, okay.
I know.
You've done your homework.
Yeah.
So, and it's a kind of a neat story how he discovered it and what he was doing. I think he was sitting down and took a break or having a lunch or a nap, and felt this gust of air, this breeze blow by, and he says, "Where's that coming from?" And the rest is history. He was
a miner looking for gold.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, that was the hubbub of the gold rush, and that's what he was doing in 1885. He and his buddy, Emily Steve Knott, a mining and geologist, person from Carson Hill, and E.F. Floyd, the Murphys' schoolmaster. They went and explored the caverns together. These three people did. And according to this information I've got, and they found some human remains. Have you heard this story?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. They found some human remains. They found, let's see, 4 adults, 1 child, and an infant. And
I
after
think I have heard that story.
after extensive examination and study of the bones by the Harvard Museum of Comparative Zoology, the University of California, and in later years, the Smithsonian, it was determined that the remains belonged to members of the, and I'm going to mess this up, you probably know how to pronounce it, the Miwok tribe of Native Americans. Is that right? Have you ever heard of it? You probably never heard of it either. M-I-W-U-K. Miwok.
The Miwok.
Okay,
Miwok
Miwok.
Indians.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The tribe of Native Americans, 1,500 to 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
So everyone listening and everybody, there's your history lesson from Murphy's, California. Almost said North Carolina. We got a Murphy, North Carolina too.
Yeah, when there's a large vineyard out in that same valley, and it's called Steveno, and it's since sold, but they do have a tasting room. Steveno Vineyards does, but that vineyard's quite old, and that's been out there in that same valley. So I wonder if the Steveno, if there was any did you mention something of a Steve or something earlier? I thought you said something. Yeah, so that might be.
It was Emily K. Steveno.
Okay, so
his friend Emil. It might be Emil. I'm sorry, it's not Emily. It's Emil.
Okay,
it's because it's a guy. It's Emil Steveno. And
I didn't realize they were up there that long. Interesting.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
So, yeah, very, very interesting stuff. We, our area. I don't know if have you ever been to Chattanooga?
I've been to Nashville several times. I don't know if I have been to Chattanooga. I don't believe so, but I do need to get out there because I want to come see you.
Our area is full of caverns. We've got Lost Sea Caverns, just 40 miles north of here. We've got caverns on 24. We got caverns behind the high school that people go into. All kinds of caverns. Great place if you're a spelunker. Did you know that's what they call a person that goes in caverns?
Yes,
Spelunker.
I did.
Yeah. You ever spelunked?
I have. As a matter of fact, we have some caverns on our property that we own, which is right, very, very close to Mercer Caverns. So same rock outcropping.
Have you explored?
Very similar. I have. Yep.
Have a carbide lamp?
Carbide lamp?
You put on your head.
Oh, yeah.
Little rocks in it and light it.
Well,
I used to go in caves all the time when I was a kid.
I have something a little bit more current, runs off a battery, and it's a headlamp. But
you see, the last time I went in the cave, I was still using carbide lamps. That's fun stuff, Noah. All right, now I want your story is very. It's number one, it's important. Number two, it's fascinating, and I want you to take me to the beginning of soldier Noah Glanville in the Middle East, and how you came about, first of all, what you did in the service, and then how you came about designing the pit barrel cooker while you're in the service.
Well, so I guess I'd take a step a little bit further back.
Okay.
So I grew up here, and this was one of the greatest things about moving back home, and just knowing the culture. And my kids going to the same elementary school, and then junior high and high school. And I remember going through home ec, and it was one of my favorite classes. And I mean, in sports were everything to me, and that's really what kept me in school. And and later on in life, I wish I had focused more on studies and things like that, but you can't change the past. But I remember being in home ec, and that was a class I really liked, and it was easier. I was interested in it, and I got the bug when we took a field trip to the San Francisco Culinary Academy, and it was such a neat experience, and you could see through the windows, and it was clean, and it was stainless steel, and you saw all the students in their chefs, yeah, student outfits.
Yeah.
And I thought I was really impressed. And then I found out they had different, business portions and wine, um, to learn different aspects of a restaurant business. And so that was something I walked away from that, and I said, I'm going to do that one day. And so that was always kind of in the rearview mirror. And I graduated high school, went down and worked in the Bay Area for a while. And I just decided I was spinning my wheel. So I joined the Navy and got,
Now, what year? No, what year is this?
that was 98.
Wow.
So 1998, joined, went down to the recruiter, joined up. And my grandpa said, I wish you had finished college. And he was probably right. Who knows where I would have been. But, I did took the ASVAB test, and the recruiter came back and said, you can do anything but the nuke program. And I thought, you sure you graded my test? And, and he said, yeah, what did you cheat? I said, I didn't cheat, but I may have guessed on a few. But they said, you can do anything, anything you want.
Top gun, pal. So.
Yeah. So I thought about it, and I'm looking through the different options and what I wanted to ultimately do in the Navy, or thought I wanted to do. And I decided to be a Navy corpsman. So I was a combat medic, and the guy said, the recruiter said, you realize that you could be sent with the Marines and be getting shot at and be on the battlefield. And if you do that job. And I said, yeah, okay, well, I'll do it. So sure enough, get through boot camp, go through corps school, go through field medical service school, get sent with the 1st Marine Division, attached to 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. And I'm there for almost 6 years. And during that time, but I had amazing, military career. And it's the thing that, and I say this to veterans too, when I first got out, and I'd been in combat and been in heavy combat and lost friends, and friends came back with missing limbs and blind and just all kinds of different things, PTSD. And, so everyone's experience is a little bit different coming back from the military, and how that affects your life and decisions and things like that. But, I think going through combat, and for at least my experience being in the military, it's kind of like a bottle of wine. Your memories and how you view, and the lens that you look at those experiences through, are only get better through time, and it helps make who you are. But the further and further down the road you get, you're glad you're more and more glad that you did it. Mm-hmm. I think the day one, when you first get out, there's a lot going through your mind. And I remember so glad I didn't throw all my sea bags and all my gear away, because when I first got back, and for quite a while later, I didn't want to put any camo on. I didn't want to see camouflage. I didn't want to put camis on. I put all my stuff. In fact, I was going to throw everything away. And my wife said, maybe your kids would want that one day, or maybe hang on to that. I'm really glad that I did do that, because I would have. Absolutely. And now it's kind of fun to get that gear out. And
does it still fit?
It does not still fit, but I'm hoping the measures I'm taking recently, maybe one day it would fit. But
P90X. You get up every morning doing the P90X.
That's right. Just sharing. Well, honestly, my wife and I, we started just sharing meals. Mm-hmm. And so often, a restaurant, they serve so much food anyway, that you share a meal, and it's been great. So we've been doing that, and it's worked out awesome. And yeah, just kind of cut back a little bit, but and we cook quite a bit at home too, so we love doing that. But back to the main question in the roundabout way.
Let's get to years right now. So you were there when President Bush was president, and what was that Operation? What was his?
Iraqi
What was
Freedom.
Iraqi Freedom. So that's when you were there.
Yep.
You were there in Iraqi Freedom. Okay. So you were there. Oh, I guess 01, 02,
03.
01, 03,
Yep.
03 to
Well, it went,
08 or
gosh, how long
7?
did it go? I got out and it was still going. But I mean, I got out at the end of 2004.
Okay.
So, and the war was
I'm
still
just trying to
going.
get it. I'm just trying to get a
Yeah.
timeline for the pit barrel cooker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I got out, and then went to work, in the private sector, just doing, worked for a company called Extra Lease. I'll never forget that. That was a Berkshire Hathaway company. And I got in, it was very shortly after I had gotten out, and that was thrust into the corporate world, and people worrying about the corporate problems and stress was nothing compared to the stress and problems on a battlefield and coming from the military. So that was an adjustment. However, it was a good experience. I did well there and moved up quickly, and took over a branch as an operations manager. But I still felt like, I wanted to I wanted to get back overseas, and strange as that may sound. And I went to work for Blackwater. At the time, it took a while to get through the security clearance and get cleared to go back over. And ultimately, just wanted to work with people that I could depend on, and put your life in people's hands, and you're going to carry out the mission. You take things serious, and just working with that caliber of person. I wanted that more, and I think that's a common desire with people getting out of the military. When they get out of that and they have that structured environment, and then you get out and it's not so much like that, and you kind of want that. But so I went to work for Blackwater, and it was during, oh gosh, I did that from 2006 to 2010. And you deploy.
Were you married? No, were you married to Amber at that time?
I was not married to Amber at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but I met Amber when I was contracting, when I was working. Yep. And so so deployed, and I was saving my money, thinking I'm going to save my money up, go through culinary school, open up a restaurant. And everyone told me that's probably the best way to go broke. And I'm sure they were right. And so I said, well, maybe I won't do that, but I still wanted to have something to do with food. I loved cooking. I loved entertaining. And I think even with COVID, when that happened, I think our country is going to make another big rebound and shift towards cooking back at home. And not because they have to, because of a pandemic, but because cost. And it's fun to entertain. So I always knew that I liked to do that. And I thought, maybe if I could create a device that everyone could have a phenomenal experience on, cook amazing food, and make it as easy, and set it and forget it. No complicated technology, no gadgets, just fire and smoke and great food. And so, I knew that
Now, were you thinking about this when you were still at Blackwater, or is this after that? So while you were over there deployed,
Correct.
you had it going in your mind what you wanted to do. Was that just out of, the necessity as a mother of invention? Is it y'all wanted to cook and didn't have anything to cook on, so you were trying to find something to cook on?
I mean, when I was over there, I would always be the cook. I would, barbecue and different things like that. And we'd try stuff, but it did not originate over there, as far as, the pit barrel. It was, where I grew up, and there's different areas, turns out, in Virginia, there's places that people, way back would cook in drums and cookers. And where I happen to live here, there's some different pockets in the country that oil drums have been around a long time. So they would use these oil drums. They'd put grill grates in them. They'd do all kinds of things. They'd cut the bottoms out and and just build a little fire. And so it was a great, consistent, cooking apparatus, if you will. And I knew it was always consistent. And I thought that might be a good place to start and figure out if we could create something that it has consistent airflow based off of elevation. And one of the blessings was I was living in Colorado at the time. And so I was doing all the R&D there. So in Denver, you're, 5,280 feet, mile high, started there. And then all I could do is only go up. So I remember I was going elk hunting, and I took what I thought was going to work, and the ventilation and air setting. And I go up to camp, and I'm telling my buddies about it, how excited I am. I said, "Oh, wait till you taste the food off this thing. It's going to be amazing." I brought the chicken and different things, and get it up there. And I couldn't get the thing to stay going because of how high the elevation was. So I literally had to take the rifle and shoot through the barrel. And that was prior to any drinking, but shoot through the barrel several times at the bottom to create more airflow.
So even with the airflow cover all the way open,
correct,
you couldn't get enough. Okay.
Yeah. Again, I mean, because we were at, 9,500 feet, almost 10,000 feet in elevation. So it was significantly different. And so we and then I realized, okay, well, the elevation thing. So we got it working. Food was delicious. And then I realized I need to go to sea level. So there was quite a bit of work to create a cooker that is what the pit barrel is. And a lot of people say, well, some of the people in the industry will say, oh, the pit barrel's a great beginner cooker. And some of them are just flat jealous. That thing will outperform cookers and smokers that are $10,000 all day long.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to. The genius behind it is really figuring out how much ventilation you have, and only so much air. Yeah.
I want to get in the weeds a little bit on this thing, because what fascinated me when I first saw them, and I don't even remember the first place I saw them, but when I first saw them, I know in my head I had a moment of, I've got to cook on that. For some reason, it just appealed to me. And when people see it in the store, how does it work? And I explained the rods. I want you to explain to me and our audience how you got the rods to work, because those actually are the upper dampeners and the bottom, the airflow. And when you set everything just right, it's amazing that you don't have to tweak it during a cook, because it stays at that 275 to 310 degree range.
Yeah, Steve, you're right. And I mean, geez, probably there's still some people, not a lot, but if you think about when we first started this back in 2010 into 2010, the textbook temperature was low and slow, 225. There was no hot and fast. There were definitely people not cooking at the temperatures we cook at, and what is now hot and fast, and what is the recipe for winning barbecue competitions.
Yeah.
To create something that was truly set it and forget it. People, the term set it and forget it's been around a long time, but to really do that with food and cooking something with real fire is, I don't know how many times that had been done, without some kind of electronic device. So, we were able to do that, and how I wanted to do that, we had to make some compromises, and some of the compromises are you can't extinguish the coals, unless you come up with something on your own. But we wanted to make it to where there's no thermometer. And that was a hard thing for a lot of people to get over, because you have the scientists and the engineers and the people that just like to tinker, and it would drive them crazy when they couldn't see what the temperature was. But what it's forced people to do is actually cook, go off of the feel, but really, it does it a lot itself. And if you just follow the instructions, you put both rods in, that is accounting for the right dampener, because if you take both the rods out, that allows more heat out. Only so much air is allowed in as what's allowed out, basic physics. And so that allows for more airflow, where we had to have bigger holes, like as the example in Colorado at higher elevation. You need more area for oxygen to get in, not necessarily the airflow. So we had to create larger holes for more oxygen to get in there because of the elevation. But yeah, to the rods, both rods being in, depending on the unit you have, the PBX has 3, but getting just the right amount of airflow out of the vent holes to keep that very consistent 275 to 315 temperature is where it's at. And then, you follow that. You only have to fill up the coal basket one time for any cook. And people were just so blown away, and it made things so much easier. And people still are just, blown away. The pit barrel, people that have never seen it, they look at it at first when it's cooking. They say, oh, that's interesting. And it's kind of cool. The horseshoes, and it's smoking. The owner, someone lifts the lid off, they see the meat hanging in there, and they say, well, that's really cool. I haven't seen that. How does that work? And then once they taste the food, they're sold.
Now, did you want to hang food in that when you set out to invent it, or was that an afterthought when you saw those rods, when you used the rods as the dampeners, you said, hey, maybe we can hang stuff from here? What was your thought process on that?
I felt that if we could get away, I was honestly surprised with the things, how far we could go with hanging meat. Like people had hung, you could hang chickens. That was easy. You could, we started messing around with a prime rib, and oh my gosh, best prime rib we've ever had. Absolutely amazing. People, once they've had a pit barrel prime rib,
it's unbelievable.
I'm never going back. But then ribs. We thought, well, ribs probably won't work. And this is literally what, as we're working through this, I thought, great for chicken, great for doing a prime rib, turkey, best turkey you'll ever eat, bar none. And then I thought, well, okay, let's try ribs, and let's just see what happens. Ribs are going to probably fall off, and they didn't. And not only did they not fall off, they were the best ribs I've ever had. Wow. And now that's, one of the ways one of the main ways they cook them in competition. But, we were by far the first ones to be hanging ribs in there. We all went all the way to, let's try a salmon fillet, and salmon fillet was where we met the end of the road, and you got to put that on the grill grate. But, right. But I can tell you, when it finally does let go of the hook, it's at its very best, and the salmon's cooked perfectly, medium rare. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could essentially just put a pan in there, and when it falls, it catches it. But everything in it. The only thing that
you can't hang a pork belly either. I've tried. You got to put pork belly on the grate too.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got a good story about a pork belly.
It's good in the pit barrel if you put it on the grate and you wrap it and you do like our recipe. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
It's awesome. Everything on, that's a given. We'll just say that right now. It's everything that comes off of the pit barrel is, I promise you, is the best you will ever taste, especially the best you will ever make at home. As far as barbecue taste, the rods are, I think, are very unique. Noah, the actual hanging of the meat. Explain the convection of them, because I always tell people I cook briskets in the pit barrel. I have a friend that had a barbecue trailer at the station a few years ago. He has three pit barrels. He cooked every one of his briskets in the pit barrel, and we cook them in the packers, and they hang. Sometimes I get one so big that they hang touching the charcoal, but it doesn't burn. Explain. I always explain it, but I want the creator to explain how it works.
Sure. So obviously heat goes up, radiates off the lid, comes back down, and it's, the best way to say it is it's a stationary rotisserie. And we've had people even say, well, gosh, can you put some rods in and put a rotisserie? There's no need for that. With the right vent setting, as it is, it's the same temperature from the top to the bottom. So right down there near the coals, all the way up to the lid. It's very, very consistent. Now, if the vent setting was off or you took the lid off, the temperature is gonna spike down at the coals. It's gonna, you may even see fire, and it's gonna get much, much hotter. And we always say, like, if you want to put an extra crisp on the skin or give it a nice browning or crisp on anything, offset the lid a 1/4 inch for 20 minutes, and it's going to really get things hotter inside, and that's the way you can increase the temperature. So yeah, it's I don't know, did I answer your question, Steve? I feel like I might have strayed off.
Yeah, I was looking for that convection. The reason it
Yeah.
doesn't burn is because it's the way it's designed. The air is moving all the time. Where was the aha moment when you had this barrel in front of you? And I guess I'm sure you're in the garage like everybody, like Jobs and his buddy in the garage, and they figure out Apple computers. What was your moment like? This is it. This is it. This is the one we want.
I would say I definitely didn't. I don't know if I had a moment quite like Jobs. That would have been nice if I created something like the Apple computer in a garage. But I would say it was in Colorado. And what's funny is I didn't own my own garage. I rented a house that did not have a garage, and so I was using the neighbor's garage. We were friends with them, but I think that I made a couple prototypes, and I was interested in it. I was back from overseas, and I was contracting, and so I had some time waiting for the next deployment. And I went into oh gosh, I think I had a group of people over, and I was cooking for them, and I was like, I don't know if these people are, and we kept having UFC parties. I think that's what it was, and I'd cook all this food, and before I knew it, I realized I don't know if these people are here for the UFC fight, or they're here for this food, and they were crazy about the food. And so I kept, and then they wanted me to cook, they wanted me to keep cooking. And then there was kind of got into doing a little bit of catering and cooking for some events. But then, people wanted me to, once they realized how easy it was, can you make me one?
Yeah,
And
there
sure.
you go.
So I made them one, and then another, and before I knew it, I couldn't make them fast enough. And I thought, I think this is it. And so I started making them in my neighbor's garage, and couldn't make them fast enough, and thought, let's get some IP behind this and see if there's anything that we can protect. And we were able to do actually a utility patent on it. And rest is history.
So you get out of the Blackwater business, I assume. Come back to the States. Is that when, did you take another job then, or did you go right into the pit barrel cooker business? Went
right in head first. Had saved up a good amount of money from contracting, and thought it was enough. Did the utility patent on it. That was expensive, and started that process, and making them in the Eastern Plains of Colorado, and doing a high temp spray paint on it. I had a spray booth and doing that, and that was okay, but it wasn't great. Paint. The only thing that you never want to get a charcoal cooker. Unless it's really porcelain coated, that's where you want to be. And so we went to high temp powder coating, and then that led to a sandblast business, because I sent all these drums to get powder coated, and then the paint, flaked off of them, and powder coating is just not where you want to be for that kind of environment. And so I had to return, people's money. It was, that was a big setback. We were finally getting traction. I think, hey, we're really getting somewhere. And then we that wasn't working. So then I had to sandblast all the units prior to going to powder coating. And then that turned into a sandblast business. So then we were sandblasting old farmers' equipment in the Eastern Plains of Colorado, and doing things to stay alive, and as well as catering. until we
But
got to the point.
you were doing all the work. You were
Correct.
the factory foreman. You were sandblasting, then painting and drilling the holes. And I
while
mean, it was
taking while taking customer service calls and answering questions and uh, ordering more product and you name it. And my wife, we had just had our first baby, and and then shortly thereafter, the next one was on the way, and I remember, I mean, it was looking back at pictures, it was it was so neat. You look back and
now
think,
that's
gosh, those were the days.
2010.
2010.
Okay. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
just building my timeline. So you're doing it all. Did you rent a building to do this in Colorado, or were you doing it in your buddy's garage?
So at that point, I had a good friend. His name is Russell, and he lived out in the Eastern Plains. Great guy, still one of my closest friends. And I went out there one day, and I was telling him that, and this was right when the whole pot farming thing had blown up, and in Colorado. So to find any kind of warehouse space in Colorado was really difficult at that time, that 2011-ish. And so he said, I know the perfect spot. He says, jump in the pickup. So I get in this truck, and we're driving out through the Eastern Plains, and we pull up to this old Quonset hut in this house, that little 1,100 square foot house out there. And he says, oh, there was a guy doing cement stuff out here. And he says, what do you think of this? And I walk in, and there's stuff all over the place, clutter. And I said, it's perfect. I said, how much do you want for it? And he says, nothing, just get your business going. So it's very cool.
Friend there, Noah.
Yeah.
No kidding. Way to go, Russell. So
Yeah.
did you move the family into that house?
So not at first. That house was not ready for a family. So we did move out there to Strasburg and rented a place, and it was we had our second child on the way. And so we ended up moving into that to where the property, to where the facility was, probably maybe a year later. And Russell ended up selling us the place, and he gave us a great deal on it. And then years later, as we're growing, I said, I think this is the kind of friend and the friendship we had. We're sitting down having a meal, and I said, I think we're going to sell the place. And he says, well, no need to put it on the market. I'll buy it back from you. So I sold it back to him for exactly, what we paid for it, plus the improvements, what we did, to it. And I was out there not too long ago, but yeah, it's pretty neat.
So by that time you had, I assume you had helpers then, employees, or were you still doing it all by yourself?
We did. We had about 4 welding stations, and it was kids that had gotten out of high school, mostly young kids, and yeah, it was we would crank the product out. Probably stayed there longer than we should have, based off of the demand, because I mean, we had, for the first 5 years, we had doubled every year in size. So it wasn't until we got to the point where we really needed to get a good coating on this, and had got in touch with some people from overseas. And or overseas, you can get some of the best coating, and some of it's EPA regulations, but for a really good coated product, that we needed to look at manufacturing overseas, and basically just competing with in the industry where a lot of other things are made.
So what size, what gallon is the classic? How many gallons is that barrel?
That's 30 gallon.
Okay. And what is the PBX?
Well, so the PBX has the same diameter of what a 55 gallon is, but and I would say it is, but we neck it down. So it doesn't need to be as tall to hang a full packer brisket without it, hitting the coals. And also It's just a little bit shorter to where it's just the right height that we can ship it direct to the consumer in a box, and it doesn't have to go freight. And so, that takes away the pallet and lift gate and those kind of things, which is a game changer. A lot of the other products out there, it's a bigger deal to get it, and then also increases the cost significantly to ultimately the end user for shipping.
So you outsource it overseas, and you bring them back. At that point, where are you shipping them to and storing them? And how did you go from being the manufacturer to the inventory controlled expert to shipping them from out of the states back into the country and then inventorying them?
Sure. Mostly third-party logistics companies, and finding the right one is critical for anybody that has been in business any amount of time, that is importing product. A third-party logistics company will take the container, they'll unload it, they'll bring the product in, and they're basically a pick pack ship facility that the order comes in, they read the order, add any accessories to it, they pull the product, and they add any accessories or anything that they're going to put in it, and put the label on it and ship it out. So that relationship, what may sound easy, is extremely difficult to find a good third-party logistics company, and every product's a little bit different. So, some require more hands-on, some require pallet in, pallet out, and never having to break it down.
So what, let me see how I'm going to phrase this for you. You've got your sales system. Was it all internet at first? And then when did you set up your dealer network?
At first, it was all internet. And this is when I say at first, it was very small scale. And we always felt that it was important to have retailers to where people can come kick the tires and actually see it. And it was a small piece of our business, but the biggest complaint or roadblock was, at least for the retailers, was that the sales tax. So it wasn't too long ago that someone would say, well, if I buy it online, I can save on tax. And so even though there's some companies and brands still mostly small selling without charging sales tax, by doing that, it leveled the playing field, and that made it much better, so that if someone genuinely wants to buy it in the store and that's where they learn about it, such as your store, they aren't able to go learn about it and then buy it online. And they could, but usually now they're able to get a better deal in the store and have a firsthand experience and know what they're buying, and someone can explain it to them and all that. So we started that came on a little bit later. Still, most of our sales are online, but the stores that, such as yours, that have come on board and sell a lot of product, you figured out the secret sauce. You have to have a place. You have to be able to demo and be able to explain it to people. And when people come through the door, they're going to trust you. And you guys, you're in a spot where you can sell people on just about anything. If you tell, hey, you have to try this. This is amazing. And when you really do have a product that is amazing and you're backing it up, that's what's so cool, is because, as you see, then the neighbor and the guy that works with the person that brought them some food, they come in and see that it's you just see that continue to grow, and the pockets that in areas where, such as your store, that really push it because you believe in it, you have there's a huge hot spot there that you grow that pit barrel. And other stores can do it. There are retailers out there that buy a brand and they expect that a huge capital injection into that brand and all the marketing. They're going to be able to just bring that brand in, and that product's going to grow legs and walk out the door by itself. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, but it's large in part what you educate the customer on and what you're ultimately pushing. So
it was in 2020. That's when, right? We've been open for about a year.
Yeah.
And I thought this is the easiest business. I wish I'd gotten into it 30 years ago when I opened a gas station, but it's not the way it is. We talked a little bit about the tariff situation, and you said you're going overseas to China in May to check on the Badger barrels
towards the end of this month. Yep.
And what will you be doing while you're there?
Working with factories, making sure that the product is good to ship, and that especially with tariffs, the last thing you'd want is a container of new product that you've gone through. Like with the Badger barrel, we've made some changes that not huge, but just some subtle changes that it doesn't change the way it cooks. The first Badger, you're still going to have the exact same result. Some of the changes we've made, we've done a porcelain coating that unfortunately will drive up the cost significantly. But in the top vent setting, we reversed some of the screws and what was exposed to the grease, so that it wouldn't jam up as easy.
Yeah.
The bottom vent setting, we changed it into a stainless steel plate as opposed to the porcelain. Stainless steel plate. We were looking at porcelain, but we did stainless steel. So there's a few things, but I'll be going over there to check that inventory, make sure that's all squared away. And that's the thing. I'm a veteran, love my country like no other, and to stay in business and stay alive, you have to be competitive. And there's Chinese manufacturers and factories work extremely hard. The people are oftentimes very proud of what they do and the work, and they work hard to do it. But just like anything, you have to make sure that you're getting quality product. They can produce some of the best porcelain coating there is. But if you allow shortcuts to be taken, they'll take them. So you have to physically put the time and the work in to make sure that what you're selling to your customer is of good quality. And that definitely doesn't mean it's cheap. It's good stuff. Some of the other things I'll be doing is working with other factories on some innovation, some accessories, and just taking the trip, going over and visiting the people that are building some of these products is worthwhile. So,
we were talking earlier about the concern about the tariffs. If a deal isn't worked out, and I do think a deal will be worked out, but if worse comes to worse, we are in a situation where we're looking at 125% tariffs. The grill market overall is going to take a huge hit, obviously, because they all come from over there, most of them. There's few that are made here in the States, but the price reflection is how you tell the difference. It's nice to have an $8,000 pellet grill, I would imagine, but the market for that, at least in Ottawa, Tennessee, is zero. The market for an $895 Green Mountain grill is pretty good. The market for a $399 pit barrel cooker is really good. Do you see your product and the product that I sell gaining an advantage should these tariffs come into play? Simply due on cost, because even though they'll cost us more, they'll still be less than the competitors.
Yeah, Steve, that's a great question. I've always said the pit barrel is recession proof, meaning if we do go into a recession, like I said, there's cookers that are thousands of dollars and that don't even come close to comparing to what the pit barrel will do for a fraction of the cost. a headwind didn't anticipate necessarily was 125% tariffs, but we're in the middle of a negotiation. Um, you know, politics aside or not, I believe that there is a lot of cleanup and a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse, and things like that. And you look at it all over. I mean, there's guys that get paid millions of dollars to pave roads that never get paved, and the list goes on and on and on.
Oh, yeah.
So those kind of things, and I'll say this, and I haven't said this anywhere else publicly. So for the first time, I'll say this: for my wife and I, we're very capable people. I've survived the battlefield. We've done. We can do anything that we set our minds to, and that's part of the American dream and being an American. If you're willing to put the work in, you have the vision, and you have the passion, you can do anything. So even if by these tariffs, even if it put me out of business, if it's for the greater good of our country and creates a better environment for my kids to grow up in and make a living, that's worth it. That's worth it over and over. Right. So we can always do things and
I don't think it puts you out of business. No, I think
I
what
don't
will
think so
happen,
either.
ideally would be to be able to manufacture again in the United States. If you could create the same product at a lesser price here in the U.S., that would be the winner of the end game. To drive it back to the United States where you didn't have to import the products. But until that happens, we've got to import the products, and I get that. I would love to see, Noah Glanville have a warehouse here in Ooltewah, Tennessee, with little worker bees in there, just painting barrels, sandblasting barrels, drilling holes, throwing in rods, and then selling them off the back deck. That would be wonderful, but the economics of scale are just not there. So with that being said, I think though the position of the pit barrel cooker will still be advantageous simply due to its cost. Right now we're selling the PBX at $399, $299 on the Classic, and the $249 on the Badger. That is, and that's ready to cook. That's when you take it out of the box. You don't have to buy anything if you don't want to. You can have that thing at home. You screw 3 handles on it, and you're cooking. And and that's what people love about it. It's the simplicity. It's the ease. That's what I love about it. It's my favorite thing to cook on. If people came by the gas station and the store on Saturday morning, I had the PBX going. No, I had the Badger going with a tri-tip hanging on it. And we simply we smoked the tri-tip and then took the top of the grill off and then grilled it off on the grill on the bottom. So, it's the perfect cooker, I think.
Sure.
I enjoy cooking on the Badger more than I do the PBX or the Classic. And we keep all 3 of them in a rotation.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think that the pit barrel cooker is in a good position no matter what happens to sustain its growth, sustain its viability. And not only that, but to do well when people can't, if we get to a point where, if we get to that point, Noah, the pellet cookers that are $800 now, an affordable pellet cooker, if that's what you want, is going to be $1,900. You know what I'm saying? And that's out of reach. I mean,
right.
Most people aren't going to pay that for a grill because number one, the wages aren't being, our wages aren't, there's no tariff on our wages. We don't take our check to the bank, give them a check for $100, and then they give us $225 back. They don't do that. The wages stay the same. When the taxes go up, there's only one thing to do, and that's cut back. So,
and to your point, we've always been very fair with our prices, and our thing is we don't gouge the consumer. We're not a Charbroil or a huge mass volume manufacturer that, you know, we really care about the quality and what we're doing and what we're making and what the consumer is ultimately going to get, and that they get something that will last them for years. So, you know, I think that's important. If there was, I think a lot of things are going to change in the coming years, you know, with just manufacturing capabilities and all kinds of different things like that. So I think that's going to get better. And there may be, when there's an opportunity to bring that back to the United States, it'd be all about it, of course.
Absolutely.
But you know, I mean, that doesn't just happen overnight. And you know, there's a lot of people, a lot of brands. I mean, currently, right this minute, everything made in China. If you're a brand that's made in China, you're probably thinking about that. But you know, I don't know that we have the margin to absorb 125%. We definitely don't. But
Nobody does.
but I don't think it's going to stay there. And you know, we're topped off on inventory to get us through August. I think things will be leveled off by then. And if they're not, I mean, here's the deal. If that's not figured out by August, we got a lot of other things to worry about besides a barbecue. But I think we're topped off on inventory. We'll be good to go. And we've always been fair with our prices. So if we do have to raise the price, you know, we've always thought about, and my motto has always been, before we make any business decision or make any changes, ask yourself what's best for the consumer. And if you do that genuinely, you'll make the right decision. You know, you can't give it away for free. But if you ask what's best for the consumer, that usually steers the ship in the right direction for the overall decision.
And the price on the accessories is very affordable.
Yep. It is. And that's, and when you think that way, you, and your other, you know, motto is grow responsibly. You don't get caught in a position with, you know, tens of thousands of grills or cookers that you have to sell. And then you're getting in, you know, we don't have this big, huge engine that we have to keep running. You know, we're not supplying big box retailers. You know, we're not, you know, if you have our product or you sell our product, you understand where we're at as a company, and that we really care about a quality product at a very affordable price. And we're delivering it to you at a price that, you know, we're not getting killed on program costs and different fees and different things that, you know, big box retailers will absolutely kill you on. It's good straight business with a good product to the consumer. It's
an American owned company. It's a family owned company.
Yeah.
When Noah goes to sleep at night, when he's worried about the consumer, he's worried about the consumer, not stockholders. And that to me means a lot. You're worried about Steve getting these grills sold. You're worried about Perry buying a pit barrel cooker. What do we have to do to make Perry buy a pit barrel cooker from Steve? That's the kind of things I like people worrying about. Not, you know, if my stock goes down 3 more cents, I'm going to be deregulated, and I'm going to have to be, you know, looking for a buyer because they're not worried about the consumer. Those guys don't worry about the consumers. They worry about stockholders. And I don't care about their stockholders. I worry about Steve Ray, and I worry about Perry Collins, and I worry about Mike Shadwick, and I worry about Ken Smith and all these other people that own pit barrel cookers that are enjoying them right now, and that have bought them and are going to buy them. And the reason is that it's a good cooker. It comes from a good family owned company. It comes from an American owned company, and it delivers. No, your product delivers. And that's all you can ask of anything that you buy is tell me what it's going to do. And then it does it. And then that's the perfect formula. And then those people will come back and they'll buy covers. They'll buy grates. They'll buy tongs. They'll buy bottle openers. You know, all the things that make that experience a little bit better.
Yep.
Just a little bit better. You know, I think you should make a pit barrel cinder block to put in the barrel to raise up the heat, to raise up the coal bed when I want to grill. so I don't have to use just my regular cinder block. But it's little things like that, little nuances like that make cooking on that thing so much fun.
Okay. Well,
And
we'll look at that. We
I,
could probably
I,
come up
I,
with something better than the
I'm
cinder
just,
block.
I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next? What is we got the Pit Barrel Junior, we got the Pit Barrel Classic, we got the PBX, we got the Badger. That's a great lineup right there. Anything else in the R&D movement right now?
Yeah, we're working on a mass hanger system for the PBX. People have seen just that capacity. I mean, you can hang like 30 racks of ribs on that cooker. So you can if you do it with taking advantage of the circular shape of the product. What else we have? I mean, really, right now we made, like I said, we made some changes on the Badger barrel. I think that we're gonna have a lot of fun with the marketing of that. I think that's gonna really benefit the Pit Barrel brand and Badger brand. I think it'll go absolutely viral. I really do. I think that that our country is ready for a real Badger brand, and we're going to be it. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be lightweight, easy to pour, easy to take places, right?
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
what I love about it. That's what I love about it. That little, just the grill part is worth $250. When you take it to the beach, when you take it to the tailgate, when you take it to anywhere you want to go on a picnic, just having that little grill there over charcoal is it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah,
because it cooks so good. No, I'm gonna let you get out of here. I kept you way longer than I said I was. I hope I didn't get into any plans of yours, but we appreciate you being with us, and I appreciate everybody watching and everybody listening and all the comments that were made for Noah. Noah, your class act, and I'm happy that you'll have me as a retailer. I will say you that, and we've sold them since day one, and we will continue to sell them. And it's, like I said, my favorite thing to cook on. And I appreciate you, appreciate Amber and Brianna and all the staff, how nice y'all are to us. And I just can't say enough nice things about you.
Oh, well, thanks, Steve. I really appreciate the kind words. And no, you're a textbook retailer that we love to have on board. And your store is, I've seen pictures in the video and everything of I don't think I've seen. Yeah, I would say so. You're a 10 on the scale of a barbecue store. It's probably worth even anyone that goes remotely close to where you are. They should go check that out. It's you're exactly what we're looking for, and really glad I use partnership very, very carefully, and it's a great partnership that we have with you. So we really appreciate everything you've done and the support.
There's plenty that are bigger, but we have more fun and we pay more attention to the customer, I think, than anybody else. Because we are small enough to take care of our customers, but big enough to have enough inventory that it's nice when you come in and get a Pit Barrel cooker. You can get a new rack, you can get the tongs, you can get everything you need to cover everything you need. It's one-stop shop, and that's the way I like to. Whatever I sell, I try to have everything. Same with the Green Mountain Grills, one-stop shop. We got everything you need.
It's funny. If I'll just say this, it's funny you mentioned the tongs and the spatula. They're awesome. Like those tongs and the spatula, I tell people all the time, and friends, and they, I always say, oh, this is the best you'll ever have, and this is the best, and they say, oh, you say that about all your stuff, and
the reason is because it's the right size. The Pit Barrel cooker is different. It's a whole different. It's unique that it's not as big as or it's not made like your grill, so you're not up here doing stuff. You're down here. And there's a little space limitation, but so you need a smaller spatula, but you need a good spatula. You need a smaller set of tongs, but you need a good set of tongs. So the baskets, even the baskets that you can do hot dogs with, you can do sausage, you can do potatoes and stuff that you hang. When people, we've got one customer, Mike Shadwick. He bought a Pit Barrel, and he has literally, he says his pellet cookers have got cobwebs on them. We did a rib contest just the other day at the store, and that's what he brought. He brought a Pit Barrel. Another guy brought a Pit. We had 3 Pit Barrels there cooking in the rib contest. I thought that was pretty good.
That is
I
cool.
thought
Well,
that was- I thought
maybe
that was-
we ought to do something like that, and let me know when you guys are going to do that.
Oh, we'll do it again. That's for sure. I think the
Okay.
next thing we'll do is chicken wings. If
Okay.
you've ever had chicken wings on the pit barrel using Hey Grill Hay's recipe on the pit barrel cooker, that's golden.
Oh, I
That's
bet.
golden. That's
She's
golden.
got good stuff.
She does. Noah, thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you again. All right.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate being
You
on.
bet. Thanks, Noah Glanville, for being with the guys. I know we're way over. We're way over, but I tell you what we're going to do. I do want to get to the food pictures because they were really good this week. So let's do this. Let's start with Heath Jordan. Heath Jordan did some dino ribs. And Heath, it looks like you nailed those. Those look fantastic. Good looking, good color. Jason Panley did some meatballs, and there's the meatballs before he put them on the smoker after he made them. And there they are after he made them. It looks like he made them in some sort of a sauce and put them on the smoker. Jason's always coming up with unique ideas. Here's Jarvis Rawls. He was down in in Gadsden at the Smoke on the Falls. I believe that's what it was called. And Jarvis always posts videos on the Nation page. So there he is with his looks like he got a pizza trophy or something. But congratulations, Jarvis, and thanks for sharing that with us. Here's Jeff Maxwell. Looks like he did some bone-in chicken. He says his wife Wendy is on. She's back home in Canada, and so he can cook some food on the bone. He says he won't eat anything, especially chicken, unless it's boneless. And looks like he did some. Looks like little wings or maybe thighs. I don't know, hard to tell. And here's our boy Mike Shadwick. He's got some. Looks like he's got some ribeyes on the pit barrel cookers, using it as a grill. A lot of people don't know you can grill on these things too. They're fantastic. Great. And if you put a cinder block under that coal basket, it might get that fire up a little bit. It even works even better. Here's Thomas Damon. I think that's a pork butt. Thomas is from West Virginia, is in Germany, and his food always looks a little different. I think maybe the pigs are flatter over there, if there's such a thing as a flat pig. But I guess that's a pork butt. And then right next to his pork butt, he's got a big thing of vegetables. Looks like he's got that set up on some sort of an offset, doesn't it? So look at those vegetables. They look great, Thomas. All your pictures are always good. Here's Steve Davidson checking in with a pork butt. Of course, Butcher Barbecue are most of our rubs and sauces of choice. And Steve is a Butcher Barbecue ambassador and always using that good stuff. Here is Will Witt. Will is new to the group, guys. It looks like he did some pork butts, and I think Will is selling them too. So, Will, when you get set up and you want to go to an event and you want to let us know, by all means, post it to the Nation page, and you're welcome to advertise that. And here's a good one. This came in late. Billy Holland. If anybody's been to the store and seen the wooden owl that Billy did for us, it's right up front, right by a grill, and that looks like he did I guess that's a self-portrait of Grill Billy's. That's his barbecue team. Billy, I love that. It looks just super. Let's see. I wanted to get. Here is Pete. There's Pete on vacation. There he is, holding up the Owl's Nest Barbecue T-shirt in front of the Van Gogh Museum. So that's a pretty good shot there, Pete. I thought I had some more that Pete did. I don't think I loaded them up though, everyone. So that's the only one of Pete I've got. He also met some barbecue people there. Pete said that most everybody cooks with wood in Holland and in the Dutch area where he's at. And he went to one place where the smoker was so big that you could actually walk in it. So we'll get all that when Pete gets back. I don't think he'll be back next Monday, but the Monday after that, we'll do a Pete's vacation segment and catch everybody up on that. Okay. Let's get to some of the comments. Ken Smith over from Middle Tennessee. He says, a great night for grilling, Steve. He's firing up the PBC. Ken was at our first Pit Barrel festival that we did a couple years ago that we had a torrential rain. And boy, that was a good time, Ken. I appreciate you being there. Steve Davidson's checking in, saying hello. Ken Smith said, absolutely, Ken. The Pit Barrel Cooker pork butt has some real pit flavor. You're not kidding. Perry checking in. He goes, I got to do some executive protection training at the Blackwater facility. Perry was in, when he worked at McKee Foods, he had a couple different jobs, but one of them was actually, I think Perry actually did some protection for the McKee family. But anyway, he said he got some very serious warriors there, and he respects you a whole lot, Noah. Perry's a great guy. Jeff checking in, a hanger for the great to get closer to the coals. That's what Jeff suggests. That'd be pretty close. But Jeff cooks, and he's got 3 of these things. He cooks on them all the time. There's probably, I would dare to say, there's probably nobody in Chattanooga that knows more about pit barrel cookers than Jeff, because he's cooked so many different kinds of meats and so many different kinds of proteins and different things on his pit barrels. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for hanging with. I know this was a long one, but I wanted to hear what Noah had to say, because he's so interesting, and the pit barrel cooker is such an interesting device, and I believe in it so much, and you know I believe in it. That's why all the cookers are right up in front of the store, and we just appreciate Noah. We appreciate everybody there at Pit Barrel Cookers, and we're going to get out of here. Join us. Come by and see us at the store. We'll be there tomorrow morning at 7:15 to 5, Monday through Friday, 7:15 to 5, Saturdays, 7:15 until 3. And I will see you there. Thanks, everybody.
People on the product. And I think for us, we've had some really good retailers. We were just talking about one today that came on with us, Al's Nest Barbecue. He's awesome. But he sold a lot of product, but he's passionate about it. Yep. He talks about it. He educates his people, his staff, everybody on it.
No matter if you can see 7 states from high above, Lookout Mountain, into the valley and the hills of the great Smoky Mountains, know that you are in Pit Barrel country.